Sometimes I ask myself what it all means.
Let's begin.
Is that who you are?
My purpose makes me who I am.
I finally have the feeling we're doing something worthwhile.
That's right, everyone, and welcome to the show. Today is the day before E3 proper starts, so we're gonna be watching the Koch Primetime. I was wondering when the schedule first came out, why is it called Koch Primetime? And that was answered yesterday at the Summer Games Kickoff Live when, Koch Media announced a new gaming label called, Prime Matter, yes. Well, we're joined here by Ben, who's going to give us a little bit of a rundown of, what he knows already, what we're going to be seeing. And we're going to pontificate about what the show is and how long it could actually be. So let's start with what we know we won't see. Let's curb some expectations right out of the gate, because there's some big titles that Koch Media controls that we know will not be shown.
It's an interesting one, really, because this is one of the very few publishers, or should I say, conferences out there that have basically said you won't be getting this. And what we're talking about is a few of their really big name titles, actually, as well. Saints Row is not going to be appearing today. Metro is not going to be appearing today. Dead Island is not going to be appearing today. And the recently announced, or, the studio that was recently announced to be covering it, Time Splitters will not be appearing today. So we already know there's not going to be, those four big titles won't be appearing today. To set records straight. If I had to guess, what we're going to be getting today is going to be an extension of what was shown yesterday. We had that short trailer yesterday where it showed off everything that's coming with Prime Matter, the 12 new studios that are bringing these 12 new games. I say new, some of them have already been announced, but, they will be new by the time that they're actually released. And it'll also cover some of the legacy studios. Prime Matter is also covering some of these legacy studios that are already represented by Koch Media. But I think what we're going to be seeing today, or the majority of what we're going to be seeing today, is going to be Prime Matter. It's going to be more trailers, more deeper dives into what these games are and when we can expect them to arrive.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's called Prime Time for a reason. Because they're going to be focusing on this new label and what that brings to the table. Now, of course, I'm hoping that we'll actually get to see something from Painkiller. I mean, the show yesterday, they basically just showed a logo. And I know that the game is very early in development, but maybe concept art of what Painkiller looks like this time around. I mean, because the very first thing that I want to know is, are they doing a DMC? Are they doing a retcon of the character, or are they continuing the story?
Yeah, strangely enough, Painkiller's about the only title that we don't know much about from Prime Matter. I was able to attend a press event for Prime Matter a couple of days ago. Well, I say days ago, it was around 10 days ago at this point. Where they basically told us about, all these new games and what they're going to be, etc. Most of which you're going to find out more about today. The embargo for them all lifted yesterday, so we're free to talk about them. But Painkiller was the one where they basically said, it's coming, but we can't show you anything else, really. I think we have one screenshot or one piece of concept art or something that is about the game. And other than that, what we know is that it's going to be developed by Saber Interactive and that more teasers are expected to be coming soon. They're being very tight-lipped about Painkiller, unfortunately. But I mean, it's sort of like the most, I suppose you could say it's the most attractive title there. It's the big name one. Everyone wants to hear more about it. So you can see why they're being a little bit tight-lipped about it. And they want to get it in that Prime Matter announcement.
Yeah, that and Payday 3. I mean...
Of course, yeah.
What has it been, 13 years since Payday 2? I mean, people want more. There's a reason for that.
I think if I'm right in saying during the press meeting we had, I think Koch mentioned that Payday 2 still has like one of the biggest communities on Steam. Just period. Like people still love this game. Like it's absolutely huge still. So the fact that Payday 3 is coming is great. What do we know about it? Well, we know it's obviously being done by Starbreeze. The big issue is that, release is years away. It's planned for 2023. We're not going to get it next year. It's going to be the year after. When we're given a release window of 2023 as well, we don't know whether that means early 2023 or late 2023. We just know it's not coming next year. We do know that it's coming to PC and consoles, which means by that point, you can probably expect it to be a Gen 9 console game. So PS5, Xbox Series X and S, etc. And we also know that it's going to be playing on Unreal Engine 4. But aside from that, we don't really know a whole lot more. There should be a trailer for the game later today, or in the Primetime show, to see more about it. But don't expect to see Payday 2 coming Q1 2022, because that's not going to be happening. It's going to be a bit further away.
Yeah. Now let's hit on some of the other stuff that we know is coming, because, like you said, you attended the pre-media brief 10 years ago. So I mean, we have a fairly good idea of what is happening at the show, and I kind of feel a little bit like they, shot their wad, if you will, a little bit prematurely yesterday, because what a boom it would have been if the Koch Primetime starts up and it's like, oh, by the way, we have a new gaming label and this and this and this and this, and instead put the trailer up, before more eyes, arguably, yesterday, but I still feel it would have been more fireworks if they would have done that, right now.
I completely agree. I think it's a really strange approach they've taken, because not only did they release the sizzle reel, they lifted the embargo for all press to be able to report on this. So all the information is out there right now that the press knows, which is kind of unusual considering this is the show that they're probably going to be showing it all off. So the information that's already out there is what's coming, really. What we do know that's coming otherwise in Prime Matter, or just that it's going to be represented by Prime Matter, the first title to be published is going to be King's Bounty 2. Well, you know a lot about King's Bounty 2 at this point. It's been broadly covered. It's coming on August 24th to PC, Xbox, Xbox One and Xbox Series, PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. So we know plenty about the game, but it's going to be the first title to be published by Prime Matter. So that's sort of like the first thing that they're going to probably be looking at, making sure that people know about King's Bounty when it's coming. And we've already covered about, Painkiller and Payday 3, but there's also 9 other titles that, well, I'll put the term new on it. Some of these titles we already knew about, but all of these titles will be coming out down the line. So they are technically new games, if you get what I mean. But yeah, there's still 9 other titles that we can talk about. So which one would you want to talk about, Dory?
Well, the one developed by the new Icelandic studio Myrkur, because not only is it an Icelandic studio, also one of my best friends actually has a high-ranking position within that. So, yes, I'm excited for the game, but I'm giving you the disclaimer of why already. I have full faith, but that's because I know some of the people personally. But you have seen a bit more about it, so tell me more.
This is a really interesting game. It's called, it's not called something right now. It's got a working title because it's still very early in development. But we know it right now as Project Echoes of the End. And yes, it's done by the Icelandic studio Myrkur Games. And this is a game that looked absolutely astonishing. It looked really, really gorgeous. And it's because it's done with, it's all done with, I can't remember the word, capture. Not the cameras and the people in it, and they got all the dots on the faces. I can't remember the name of the technique.
Oh yeah, are you talking about photo geometry of the environments, or are you talking about mocap?
Mocap, that's the one. Mocap. Yeah, it completely went out of my mind. But they have this massive mocap studio. I think if I'm right saying it's like the biggest one in all of Europe or something like that. And they're using this to make this game as as immersive and as unique as they possibly can, and it looks fantastic. Now, it's still very early in development, and they haven't shown much off about it right now. But what we did see is a short little teaser of it. Again, I'm assuming it's going to be shown here today. When we was in the press event, we was all under the assumption that it was running on Unreal Engine 5, but from what we've been told recently is that it's planning to use Unreal Engine 5, and it's currently running on Unreal Engine 4. It's going to be
like the screenshots that I saw. I was like, because I had heard the Unreal Engine 5 thing, and I was like, oh yeah, I mean, makes sense that it looks so good. But then, oh no, what you've seen already, that's just what we can do with Unreal Engine 4, but we are going to upgrade. So it's like, oh, okay, you have my attention.
It looks fantastic. Again, we don't have a release date for it. It's super early in development. We do know that it's coming to PC in Gen 9, which means that's going to be Xbox Series and PlayStation 5. It doesn't look like it's coming to the, what should we say, last-gen consoles at this point. And we know
they're focusing on the future.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it looks fantastic. Really excited for this game. I want to just bring attention to something that really, caught my attention, I guess you could say, which is a game called The Last Oracru. Now, yeah, I believe we had a little bit of a preview for this as well on, you can find it in your local Gamereactor region. And it's a blend of medieval fantasy and a sort of like a futuristic modern world. And it's done by a developer called Gold Knights. And it's an action RPG where the decisions you make are really, really important in the world itself. And you'll see a whole bunch of gameplay for it. It was one of the titles they focused on the most during the press briefing, so I'm assuming it's going to get the same treatment in the conference in a few minutes. But it's coming in 2022, and it's running on the Unreal Engine 4, and it looks like a game. It gave me a sort of like a Souls-like-y sort of feel to it, but a more approachable version of Souls-like, less direct. Where Souls-like, you're very limited in your movement options and stuff like that. This one's a bit more fluid, should we say? But at the same time, there's plenty in there. It's a really deep RPG by the looks of things. It really looks quite like a interesting game.
It's funny. It's like it seems like those two words cancel each other out. Accessible and a Souls-like. It feels like that doesn't really fit together. But interesting. Yeah, next on the list. What else sits at the top of your head that you want to talk about?
Well, I think before we go and talk about the other games, one thing that's going to catch a lot of attention is Gungrave Gore by Iggymob, the South Korean developer. This game has been announced previously, and people know that it's coming. Though it will be featured at the show, assuming this is all about Prime Matter. But from what we saw at the press conference, it's not going to be much. There's going to be a short little teaser to sort of basically say this game's still coming, but not much else. The release is planned for 2022. It's coming to PC and consoles, and it's running on Unreal Engine 4. But aside from that, it's going to be there to some extent. But don't expect, a sprawling gameplay trailer to really show off what's coming about this game. It's going to be more like a little teaser. Like, we're still very much working on this game.
Yeah, Alec, we got a little message from Prime Matter where they talked a little bit about what they're going to be covering. So, they're going to cover Payday, Painkiller, Kingdom Come Deliverance, Scars Above, Final Form, which is a working title, King's Bounty 2, Encased, and a whole lot more. Now, the thing is, they don't mention all of the titles that they have teased already or shown off. So that whole lot more could just mean, the rest of those titles, or it could mean that they have more in the pipeline that they haven't talked about yet.
I personally would love to see some other things shown off as well. This is a Koch show. This is not just Prime Matter. This is called Koch Primetime for a reason. There's a reason why Koch is at the front of it, and hopefully we'll get to see more Koch titles shown off here. But judging by the fact that Prime Matter is also covering, or will be representing, a bunch of the legacy studios, which includes the studio behind Kingdom Come, which recently announced the Nintendo Switch version is coming. I expect this to be very much about that. While we're on the matter of legacy studios, we were also told a whole bunch of other things for a bunch of different legacy titles, including the fact that Phoenix Point is coming to console. We were teased about Wasteland 3 DLC, so we can probably expect some more information on the second one of that. Iron Harvest coming to Gen 9. An Outward Definitive Edition coming, and then Mountain Blade 3 console also planned.
Mountain Blade 2.
Oh, sorry, Mountain Blade 2. Yeah, that's my bad, sorry.
Mountain Blade 3, that would have been...
That would have been a big announcement.
Hell of a news.
Really big announcement. But yeah, Mountain Blade 2, sorry, that's my bad. Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord, I think the full title is. Yeah. But yeah, we were teased about all these different things that are coming, so you can probably expect some more announcements regarding them as well. But yeah, I expect Prime Matter to be like the focal point, because this is a big deal for Koch. This is like a really big deal. It's a publishing label specifically for these games.
Yeah, and we're, 15 minutes out from the actual event. But I was thinking, how long is the actual stream going to be? Because we haven't gotten that info, how long it's going to be. But I can't see it being more than an hour, because... it can be some expanded trailers, but pretty much all of the titles that they're talking about are so early in development that they can't be showing us, actual running gameplay sessions. So, what do you think? Are we in for about an hour's and change, or maybe slightly less of a show?
I'm not sure we're going to get even an hour. I'm leaning more around 40 to 50 minutes. Like I said, again, the press event that we attended, I assumed it was going to be, a couple of hours long, talking about a whole bunch of different things, Koch media-wise. But it ended up being about 50 minutes long. We saw some trailers, we saw this information, got a little bit of a talk through from various PRs, etc. And that was it. So I'm expecting us to get similar treatment here. You're going to see the trailers, you're going to get a bunch of information. But I can't imagine it's going to be longer than an hour. I think an hour is really pushing it, to be honest. I really think this is going to be 40 minutes to around 50 minutes in length. I think we're going to get a lot of the Prime Matter stuff, an update in the Legacy Studios, and I think that's going to be it. And I don't know, unless they have something wild under their sleeves, like a Man-Eater 2 or something, just out of the blue, which would be crazy, I really don't see this going all that long. I think it's going to be one of the shorter conferences from, I guess this isn't even E3 yet, is it?
No, not quite, but it counts. But like I said, the press event that you attended, that was just under an hour. So
yeah,
so I guess we're going to be seeing like an extended look on all of these titles that were teased yesterday, like extended trailers. Or did you see any of the any of them being played, gameplay, or was it all?
We got plenty of different gameplay trailers that are coming. The Last Aura Crew was one. Another one that was really focused on was as a game called Dolmen, by I think it's a Brazilian studio called Massive Work Studio, which is more of a Souls-like game. I've talked about the Last Aura Crew being looking very Souls-like in its mechanics. It's like sort of medieval setting, and you got to fight all these big creatures, etc. But Dolmen feels very Souls-like in its mechanics. It's very defined in what you can do. And we got a good trailer on that, where the developer even talked over what was happening and stuff. So maybe that'll be shown as well. And that's a game that's going to be coming in 2022 to PC and consoles. And yeah, it looks kind of interesting. It's set in, I think if I'm right in saying, the inspiration for it was sort of sci-fi, but it was also inspired by like H.R. Geiger. So you got all these weird mutated gory scenes, etc. But it's all mixed in with sci-fi, future-y tech, etc. But you got to fight these weird creatures, like spider creatures that have really long legs, and it's kind of spooky, but interesting at the same time. So I'm expecting that to hold a pretty big chunk of the show.
Nice. Now I'm just looking at the chat real quick. Let me bring up the countdown. But yeah, looking at the chat here. Captain Austria 95 is asking, do you think we'll see something hunt related?
Again, all these things, all these questions that we're interested in is this going to be more than Prime Matter? And I'm hoping that it will. So yeah, I'm hoping we'll see something hunt related. I'm hoping we'll see more of the I don't know, the overlying Koch web. I want to see it all. But I'm really, really thinking, even by just the name of the show, that this is going to be Prime Matter. And that's basically going to be it. This is going to be focused on Prime Matter, basically into its entirety. But I'm really hoping I'll get proven wrong here. Really, really hoping I'm getting proven wrong.
Yeah, and so, I hope that they'll work out the issues that they're having right now. The stream countdown keeps going offline and online again. So if there are any connection issues during the event, it's not us. It's right here.
They've been running out of the stream for 3 days or something at this point, right? So
yeah, it's offline as of right now, but hopefully it'll pop back in. I think they need to work on their settings a bit. I think they're sending out with too high a bitrate and are getting kicked. But yeah, anyway. What about Saints Row 5? Says Bravery in the chat.
There's no chance. They've already said that there's going to be 4 massive franchises that aren't going to be showing up tonight or in a few minutes. Well, hopefully in a few minutes at this point. We'll see about that. And that's going to be Saints Row, Time Splitters, Metro, or Dead Island. Those 4 are not going to be at the show tonight. Again, we all want more information about them. We are really, really hungry for more information about all these games. And if we're not getting them at this big conference here for Koch, then the chances are we won't be getting them at all over E3. At least that's the way it seems to me. If Koch doesn't want to say anything about these games, then I don't think anyone's going to be saying anything about these games over the next few days. So it's unfortunate. It's a letdown, really, because big names, but that's just the way it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of a ping of stress now that the countdown is back at least. So we got that.
I mean, the good news is we still got plenty of other Prime Matter titles to talk about for a moment, because we haven't, believe it or not, we've talked about a lot of them, but we haven't been through all of them just yet. Another one, and I think it was mentioned earlier, or at least you brought it up, was Encased, which is this it's this really unusual game. I think it's set in 1976, if I'm right in saying, but it's set in this like weird artifact sort of thing called the Dome, and it's all split up into different wings, and you sort of have to like work through these different wings, decide where you want to be, and like do the chores there, etc., to be able to, I don't know, survive this unusual world. And it's really unusual, but it's a game that we've already known about, and I'm guessing again it's going to be, this information is going to be given to us all again, in this Koch show in a minute. But its release is planned for autumn. In particular, it's planned for September, so it's coming really soon. So you can expect like a decent gameplay trailer for this, most likely. And it's coming to PC only. It's a single player only game, and it's done by a developer called Dark Crystal Games. It's something it's a little bit weird. It sort of reminds me of the sort of I want to say sort of like the Deathloopy setting, except it's nothing to do with Deathloop at all. I just want to make that clear. It's not a first-person shooter. It just gave me that sort of, the setting of Deathloop, that sort of, it's not even set in the 60s, it's set in the 1970s, but it's got that sort of like look to it, that sort of like modern futuristic, but it's not. It's actually set in the past, if that makes any sense, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, alternate reality.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I always get that feeling, when you see, like Fallout. You look at Fallout games before everything goes into chaos. They have that 60s setting, which is where it was when in human history we wanted to jump into forward in time. Then it didn't work. We have all these like weird looking cars and stuff that are supposed to be really futuristic-y, but really they just look old at this point. But it has that sort of look to it.
It has this kind of look of like how they imagined the future, and then if the future had been exactly what they were imagining, rather than
exactly.
iPhones.
Exactly. It doesn't look anything like it, but I mean, it's kind of a shame because it's a pretty cool looking art style, etc. But anyway, that's another game that's going to be popping up. And I think, how many have we have left here? I think there's 4 titles from Prime Matter that we haven't talked about. How long have we got? Is the timer still going fine? Are we?
Oh yeah, it's popping up every now and again. I think we got.
Yeah, okay.
Wait, no, that's the wrong button. There we go. 6 minutes 44 seconds.
6 minutes 44 seconds.
Speed run.
Speedrun, right, okay, here we go. Here we go. We have 4 titles remaining. One is called Scars Above. I love the description for this game. They called it Alice in Wonderland meets Alien, which to me just is, it sounds great. It's got a sort of Returnal-y look to it, believe it or not. It's set in this like weird futuristic-y world on like a weird alien planet, etc. And you go in there and you have to solve a bunch of mysteries, fighting off these weird alien creatures and all that. I think in the gameplay trailer, which again hopefully they'll show you, there's a boss fight towards the end of it where they fight like a massive rock gorilla. It looks crazy. It looks really, really interesting. It's coming next year to PC and console, so we can really look forward to that one. Then as well, we have Final Form, which is a first-person shooter developed by Raycon Games. Now, if I'm right in saying as well, they also mentioned that this game was going to look to like be the redefiner of the FPS genre. So they're really, really ambitious about this game and hoping that it's going to, really take off. And it's a single-player game, but it also has multiplayer with up to 3 players via co-op. So you can expect a lot to come there. It doesn't have a release date, however. That's TBC right now, so we don't exactly know when it's coming.
I mean, it can take a while to. It can take a while to redefine the whole FPS genre.
I mean, exactly. It's shooting for the stars, so hopefully when it does come, it's going to really knock our socks off, shall we say. When we think, what have we missed? We have the Chant, which is a game that was shown in really early development. In fact, the gameplay we were shown wasn't really a gameplay trailer. It was more a developer talking about parts of the game with sections of gameplay sort of intertwined with it. And it's sort of like a third-person action horror game with all these supernatural parts to it. And it's hard to say what it's going to be right now. We haven't really seen much about it, but it's done by a developer called Brass Token, and it's planned to release in Q2 of 2022. So we have that to look forward to. I don't know how we're going to really see it in the show tonight, but I'm assuming it's going to be there to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, we might actually be getting to see some of the same assets that you saw in the pre-media brief. In fact, I think that might be very similar to what the show is actually going to be. I mean,
I think it's going to be pretty much the exact same. I think they're going to take what they showed us, they're going to cut out all the PR-y talk in between, and they're just going to give it to you in one wad. Just a massive trailer show, maybe with some talk from, the Koch CEO here and there, etc., to talk about the various things and what they're doing. But I think that's what we're going to be getting. What did I miss? Crossfire Legion. That's another game. Again, Crossfire, big name brand. There's various different Crossfire games that are going on right now. Crossfire, I can't remember the name of it right now. Crossfire X something that's being handled by, I want to say it's a Finnish studio. I want to say Remedy, but I'm not too sure about that. So don't take it for that. It's
no, I don't think so.
No, but it's called Crossfire X or something. But that's not the game that we're talking about here. It's Crossfire Legion, which is a new game coming from the Crossfire, or coming to the Crossfire brand. It's from Blackbird Interactive, and it's done, with Smilegate Entertainment. And it's going to be a full-length, single-player campaign that also features classic multiplayer RTS experiences, and it's planned for 2022. So it's a game that's really looking to expand the Crossfire universe even more. So we're going to be seeing that, no doubt, because again, Crossfire is a pretty big name at this point. A lot of people are playing Crossfire games, and Koch are really pushing for more for more Crossfire games as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, we have 3 minutes, but then this happened. The stream froze again. So let's just keep going. Like, if the show actually goes on as planned, we haven't really seen a kind of a Koch media briefing before. So the structure of the show, we don't really know exactly how it's going to go. I mean, we've seen PlayStation and Xbox and Ubisoft throughout the years kind of tightening up their formula of, keeping it punchy and tight, but also giving some tentpole titles room to breathe. It'll be interesting to see how Koch I keep wanting to say Prime Gaming because it was shown on the show yesterday. It was sponsored by Prime Gaming. It's like, I have to say Prime Matter.
Prime Matter, yeah.
You should just consider the word Prime taken by Amazon at this point. I'm sorry, but yeah. It'll be interesting to see how Koch Media and there, it's gone again. How Prime Matter are going to handle the show and how the structure of it is going to be, especially with COVID and all that. If it's all going to be, I mean,
digital. I think we're going to be getting just like a typical digital stream, sort of like the situation that we get with like Nintendo Directs and State of Plays, where it's very much just like, it's a digital experience. This is what you're getting. Here's all the trailers. We're going to cut in a few interviews here and there, maybe to pad it out a little bit. But I don't think we're going to be getting something like we had for the Summer Game Fest yesterday in the studio, or what's probably going to be the case for the Microsoft and Bethesda showcase coming up in a few days' time. Like, we can expect that to be, an absolute. Well, it's going to be massive. We're all expecting it to be absolutely huge. Because it's got a lot to show and it's got a lot to live up to. But I think this is going to be more just a digital stream. Watch the stream. Maybe they have a little studio setup where they introduce a few things here and there. But I can't imagine it's going to be too big or anything like that. Or alternatively as well, too long. So smaller but filled with information.
Yeah, I mean it's all about pacing. Like, even if the show is only 30 minutes long, if it's filled with punch, then I'd rather have that than an hour with meandering and stuff. But looking at the timer, we got 20 seconds. So, KD the GOAT is saying that Crossfire X is done by Remedy. It's an Xbox exclusive for this year. So, there we go. But countdown 8 seconds. Let's cut on over to the show and see what Prime Matter and Koch Media are all about.
The first one is to introduce you to Koch Media's brand new premium gaming label. Number 2 is to take a deep dive into some of the games coming to that label. And finally, number 3 is to show you what the new label will be getting up to in the streaming world. I want to welcome streamers who are co-streaming this today. Hello. Some of you guys are guys who I have looked up to and watched for many years. And speaking of people who I've looked up to for many years, I am so proud to introduce Jeff Keighley, who will be helping me co-host us through this entire list of games. Jeff, how's it going?
Thanks, Opal. It is so great to be here with you for the first ever live stream from Prime Matter. I was honored yesterday to reveal the label to the world at the Summer Game Fest kickoff event. And wow, you've got a lot of games there in that sizzle, over a dozen games. So I know today you're going to go a little bit more in depth to talk about all these games, to talk to a lot of the developers. But for those of you that might have missed it yesterday or just want to see it again, let's kick things off with a look at that announcement sizzle reel for Prime Matter.
Sometimes I ask myself what it all means. Let's begin.
Is that who you are?
My purpose makes me who I am.
I finally have the feeling we're doing something worthwhile.
Being relied on to succeed where others would fail.
Prime Matter.
Yes, guys, you just saw 12 games and counting. And that's just the start for Prime Matter. But before we get into these incredible games, what I like to call the juicy bits, I want to talk to you about what Prime Matter is and who we are. Prime Matter is the new premium gaming label of Koch Media. It dedicates itself to delivering a range of immersive and diverse games from amazing development talent all around the globe. It highlights the varied influences of global studios and their different approaches to game making. The new label will lead through creativity and expression with games that enthrall players with larger-than-life storytelling, create incredible moments, and above all, they're fun. The team behind Prime Matter is a melting pot of incredible talent, led by seasoned industry veterans and complemented by a young, fresh, dynamic team of multicultural gaming experts. The team behind are gamers at heart, working with such a wide range of passionate developers producing games together by gamers for gamers. And that being said, for all you keen-eyed individuals out there, you would have seen that one game was actually missing in our 12-game lineup for Prime Matter during the video. That is a game that comes from the Embracer family itself. Jeff got to sit down with Todd Hollinshead and talk all about Painkiller.
All right, you saw the news yesterday. Yes, there is a new Painkiller coming, and Todd is joining me now to maybe give us a few more details. I know this is kind of a fresh project for the team at Saber, and you guys, first of all, I love that you and Tim Willits are there, continuing to build out Saber. And Painkiller was a franchise. You and I are both OG. We remember it was it probably 15 years ago at this point?
Yeah, it's been a while. Closer to two decades than one.
My God. All right. Well, but it's one of those classic games. Let me ask you, from a Prime Matter perspective, you know, you've been in the industry like me all those years, and we remember that game. Why was this a franchise that you guys wanted to sort of bring back?
Well, Painkiller, when I played it back in the early 2000s, this is a game that had, it was dark, a little twisted, intense, cool guns. These are the things that, kind of hit the nail on the head of what appeals to me in a video game, both as, as a fan and then also as a publisher at Saber. So, we're hoping to capture those same sort of elements and bring those into the new game.
Yeah, you guys are certainly masters of doing shooters from all your time at id, and Painkiller does have a lot of that DNA of fast-paced action with a little bit of a twist to it, and the fact you guys are working with Prime Matter is also exciting. Brand new publisher, brand new label. What do you think of the fact that they're doing this label, and it's such a diverse lineup of companies and partners around it? I know you guys work with a lot of publishers, but it's pretty exciting to see a new label announced. That doesn't happen every day.
No, it doesn't. And, I think that within the Embracer Group, it's just a business that is growing. We've got great leadership at the top. And so Koch Media is, wanting to expand their publishing. And I think that, the name they chose, Prime Matter, sort of is, it's sort of like the primordial soup of putting together stuff from nothing. So, it kind of makes me think of, this is what we do when we make video games. You start with Pixel Zero, and then at the end of the day, you make a game. So I feel like that, that kind of resonates with hopefully the type of experiences that we're going to be providing, not just within Prime Matter and working with them between Saber and our partnership, but, across the Embracer Group as well.
Yeah, no, it sounds like they have a lot of games in development, but the fact that you are bringing back Painkiller is really exciting. And I know, fans, of course, want to know a little bit about, what's the game going to look, how's it going to play. Probably can't share a lot of details about it, but you're kind of in the early stages of development now on this?
Yeah, super early. And, if anything that I would share, I'd probably get assassinated for back home once I got back to the developer, because, all these, the first stuff that comes out almost always gets sort of iterated on and changed. And so we're trying to keep the lid on the details until we have something that's going to be really awesome to show.
All right. Well, we will be waiting for it, and we know with you involved, it's going to be something very special. Fast-paced action, I have no doubt. So, new Painkiller coming soon from the team at Saber, published by Prime Matter. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Jeff.
I really can't wait to hear more about Painkiller and the fact that Todd and Tim and the team at Saber are working on it. I think we're going to get something pretty special when they are ready to share more. So, exciting stuff in that sizzle reel, Painkiller, Payday, but I know there's a lot more we're here to talk about today as well, right, Opal?
Actually, Prime Matter has 12 games under development right at this minute. We're so excited to show you guys what us and the developers have been up to. However, before you see some of the content that we show you today, I do have to make it clear that some of this is pre-alpha, alpha, high-level concept, and some of it is about to release right around the corner. So please keep that in mind when you're viewing today's show. That being said, how do you guys feel about a psychedelic third-person survival horror game set on what it means to go on a journey about self-enlightenment and what happens when it all goes wrong? I got to speak with the developers of the Chant work in progress title about their game and who they are.
Our game is about a group of people who go to a spiritual retreat to seek enlightenment, and they basically get a little more than they bargained for. And your character has to deal with her own personal issues as well as the cosmic terrors that become awakened.
Cool. So what type of genre is this game?
I mean, it's a bit hard to pin down with the with all the different influences and styles of gameplay, but I'd say we're probably a survival action horror game.
Okay. Cool. And what was the thinking behind that genre? Is it something that you guys like, or is it just it came left field? What's your decision behind that?
Personally, we always wanted to make a horror game. A big part of our core team have a background in third-person sandbox games. And we really wanted to combine, action mechanics, deep storytelling, and we felt that the horror genre was a really exciting space to take that background and play around with.
So, kind of sticking with the horror genre, why did you decide to go with that theme? It's not really like normally what you would see, this whole spiritual awakening thing. So what was the idea behind that?
We thought it was just kind of an interesting territory to explore. There's a lot of influence from that with like folk horror of the 70s and giallo horror and so forth that really inspired us more from a film standpoint. And, taking that kind of aesthetic, something that was very sensational, very colorful, and mixing it in with more action-oriented and exploratory game mechanics, we felt was a fresh take on the horror space.
So kind of speaking about your inspirations and stuff, what video games, real life media has inspired you to create this title?
Well, going way back when Resident Evil 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. Alone in the Dark, Eternal Darkness. So a lot of games are very inspirational to us. Our game actually started off as a game with fixed camera angles and so forth, and then we over the course of development. Just especially really focusing on bringing more of an action element to it. We've since switched to an over-the-shoulder camera and haven't looked back.
So kind of talking about changes and what you guys are doing on the development side, how close is the game to like the original concept? I understand you guys are still developing the game's quite far out, but from your original concept to where the game is now, how much has that differed?
The core story and I'd say the aesthetic and the themes, those all remain intact. I'd say our gameplay, as our team size grew, we added deeper mechanics. I'd say more action to the game. Our game actually has a fair amount of combat in it, especially on the melee side. Those were things that weren't too prevalent in our original concept, and a lot of those things are just kind of based on we're a very small team at first. We're still a relatively small team, but every new person that joins, brings something new to the mix. So I'd say on that end, the game has evolved in scope and depth of gameplay.
Awesome. Kind of sticking on that point of, you got a small team, there's a lot of challenges that comes with that. What was the hardest part of making the game so far?
The hardest part was probably trying to make a game that has more realistic production values, because that's where our background comes from, on a smaller scale and budget. So for us, we had to be very strategic, utilizing Unreal. We wouldn't have been able to build this game without utilizing an engine like Unreal. Previously, we had worked on more proprietary technology, and that's also great because new people that join the team can get up and running on the engine quite quickly. In addition to that, we've been using photogrammetry from the start for both our environments. All of our characters are also scanned actors, and we're using, also tapping into a lot of what's going on in our city. Vancouver has a pretty big film industry, so really tapping into the film and the effects industry and tapping into that area of expertise to just kind of try to do things as efficiently as possible.
So you've mentioned like experience in the past and also kind of how rich Vancouver is. How much does that come in handy when you're working on the game?
Oh, it's been extremely beneficial. Vancouver, is home to a lot of AAA studios. A large portion of us work together at Rockstar and United Front Games, and we also have people who have worked at the Coalition and EA, as well as some smaller independent studios as well. And in addition to that, having the film industry here, where we can utilize local talent. We're working with union actors. We're scanning actors as well that we're using for our characters, and we're actually currently auditioning a couple remaining characters for the game, and as well as doing the finishing touches on our new motion capture studio. So we're going to be doing a full cinematics push over the coming months. That's a really exciting place to be right now.
Awesome. Sounds great. In terms of exciting things, when it comes to this game, what are you most proud of at the minute where you are?
I think the thing I'm the most proud of is just what a small focused team can do when they're all sharing the same goal and vision. As I said earlier, we come from different backgrounds, but everyone's managed to come together and really deliver an amazing amount of work for the team size we have, and it's really exciting to be working on a smaller team again, and just having that kind of energy where you're working with everyone on the team day to day.
Yeah, I imagine that is a lot different to probably what some of you are used to coming from those massive studios. So finally, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch, and also, being featured on their brand new label?
It's truly an exciting place to be. We've been kind of pushing our game as far as we could, and this partnership is really helping to provide more reach and more resources, but I think most importantly also just having a partnership on getting feedback and helping to really expand and push the vision of the game. We've already received a lot of feedback on the title, and being a small team, we're often in our own little echo chamber, and even in a short period of time we've been able to act on a lot of the feedback, and the game has improved considerably since then.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome to talk to you and find out a little bit more about what you guys are going to be offering for the new label. And I can't wait to let gamers finally get their hands on the content. So thank you for your time.
From psychedelic horrors to internet rumors, our next developer created the huge open world of Bohemia and took us on an adventure through the Holy Roman Empire. However, there have been some leaks that this action RPG may have a home on the Switch. Opal sat down with Warhorse Studios to try and get to the bottom of this.
Kingdom Come Deliverance on the Switch. That is quite some news.
Yes, that's true. Kingdom Come Deliverance is coming to the Nintendo Switch. And as you said, it's about gamers, devs, and games. In our case, or in this case, actually gamers play an integral part in the story.
What do you mean?
Well, some kind of confusion happened in the end of last year. We Warhorse Studios were preparing the release of the Kingdom Come Deliverance Royal Edition on PlayStation and Xbox, but someone most likely ticked the wrong box in Japan, and it looked like it's going to be released on Switch as well. Of course, by that time there was nothing existing like that. We were not even thinking about the possibility that Kingdom Come Deliverance could go on the Switch. However, Nintendo Japan took this information, some Japanese media, and then the snowball started rolling. All of a sudden it was the talk of the day. Kingdom Come Deliverance is releasing on the Switch, but as I said, nothing like that was planned at all, and we didn't even think about that. Now, a few months back, and we think it was still somehow cursing around in the Nintendo database, Nintendo of Spain posted a picture on Twitter where they had different pictures of open world games, and they were promoting already existing open world games on the Nintendo store. And if you clicked on the picture, actually there was nothing like Kingdom Come Deliverance, of course not, because as I said, nothing like that is existing. However, again, it created confusion. People were talking about it again, like, okay, so is it coming, is it not coming? But for us, actually, and as I said, we didn't think about that until that time. For us, we started to think. We started to think there's a lot of interest, there's a lot of buzz. People are actually talking about us, reaching out to us, like they seem to want Kingdom Come Deliverance on the Nintendo Switch. So we started to think. And since we are already in the Koch Media family or the Embracer family, and there's a lot of talented studios, so is Saber Interactive, and who but them would be actually capable of bringing the Kingdom Come Deliverance version on the Switch. So we sat together, and now we are here talking about the Nintendo Switch version on Kingdom Come.
So what you're saying is that a community of gamers made this happen?
More or less, yes. The community feedback we got, of course, was a big drive for this entire project. But this comes from our general background. So think of the Kickstarter project we had in the day. So without the community, there wouldn't be any Warhorse Studios or any Kingdom Come Deliverance. So we always try to be very close to them and working together with them, and even coming up with crazy ideas together with them. So for instance, the Savior Schnapps, our own liquor we created later, was actually a community idea. We have our own beer brand. We recently released a blue brick set, like a building set for Kingdom Come Deliverance buildings. And now one of the latest projects is the Kingdom Come Deliverance soap bar, which should give you the real medieval smell. In that case, I must say, medieval smells actually pretty well. And we are coming up with crazy stuff like that all the time. Our next new merchandise project is a Farkle boxed board game, kind of. So Farkle, for those who don't know, that's like this Kingdom Come Deliverance minigame, the dice minigame you can play in the game. And now with Griffon Studios, we are coming up with a boxed version you can get and play Farkle at home against your friends or against your family or whatever. So that's pretty cool if you ask me. But generally, if you're interested in these kind of stuff, just check the Warhorse Studios social media accounts. You get all the information you need there.
Ooh, my favorite. Soapy hot news. Speaking of soapy hot news, how do you feel about Warhorse being under the new label Prime Matter?
It's a huge honor, of course. We were working together with Koch for over 4 years already. In 2019, we then even became part of the entire Embracer family. So that was a big thing. And now being able to take part at the beginning of something new, be there when there's a new label being created, that is a big thing for us. And especially if you consider that we come there as an established partner already, that is really cool, and we are looking forward to a bright future.
Thank you very much, Toby. We cannot see what Warhorse has got cooking. However, until that time, Toby, goodbye!
So are we. Thank you very much, and see you.
From internet rumors back to reality, we will have more on Kingdom Come Deliverance for Switch as we get it.
All right, let's move from RPGs to FPS games. Final Form, which is a working title, is an action-packed sci-fi adventure where you play the role of a humanoid avatar of a sentient spaceship sent on a mission to the edge of the known universe to battle an unstoppable plague. The game is still a long ways from completion, but here's a very quick peek at what's in store.
Hi, we are Raycon Games, and what you have just seen is the first glimpse of our upcoming game called named Final Form.
Final Form is an action-packed, epic sci-fi FPS in which you are a female-formed humanoid machine on a space mission with no return.
At the heart of the game is a mystery and alien worlds to explore, but also an adrenaline-fueled combat. In final form, it's all about the freedom and power of movement, being a machine unrestrained by human weaknesses. There are numerous abilities and gadgets that come with your robotic body, so you can give yourself away to the fantasy of becoming an unstoppable cybernetic goddess blazing away in a spectacular ballet of destruction.
Raycon is located in Warsaw, Poland, with additional team members located all over the world. The studio was founded and is managed entirely by game developers. Since the success of Ruiner, we've grown quite substantially. Currently, Raycon is over 50 brilliant game creators, and counting. We are not a huge team, but what we love to do is to evolve together with our projects, constantly finding smarter and better ways to achieve something truly unique. We build our work environment just like we make games, aiming for the best results and personal fulfillment. We strongly believe that the well-being of team members needs to be taken care of first, before we can pour all of that love into a game. The partnership with Koch Media has been very fruitful and inspiring. We're happy to be in the avant-garde of the upcoming new label. We're looking forward to share more on Final Form in the future. And in the meantime, please enjoy the rest of the show and see you around.
I have to say, guys, I love the soundtrack from Final Form. Moving on to our next game, which is just as special. What if you took Lovecraftian and Gygax themes and mixed it all together with hardcore RPG elements? That's exactly what Massive Works Studios are doing. I got to sit down with their CTO to talk about their game, Dolmen. Speak now to Gabriel Ferreira, CTO of Massive Works Studios, who joins us now from Campinas near São Paulo in the southeast of Brazil. So, Gabriel, what is Dolmen about?
First of all, it's a pleasure to be here and to participate. Well, so let me tell a little bit about what Dolmen is. Dolmen is that kind of a game where the hero needs to save everyone from an alien threat. Fighting with all kinds of monsters and struggling to keep going forward. Yeah, that's the kind of game that Dolmen is not about. In this game, you actually save the drillers, which is the alien species that live on that planet, but you're going there to help a company save its investment. So you're not really the nice guy that's trying to save everyone. It's just a job. But we hope that the players consider the humanity, the greed, the war, and the spares and the challenges that come to mind along with that job. Taking all that part, and yes, Dolmen is also about fighting all kinds of monsters and struggling. After all, it is a hard game. It's a hardcore game. It's inspired on Souls-like, so yes, you're going to die a lot.
Awesome. Thank you. So when thinking about the name Dolmen, obviously you guys went for that for like a very specific reason. What's the thinking behind the name? Why did you go for Dolmen?
So there was many things that came to our mind when describing the name of the game. Domen, which means a single chamber tomb, a megalithic tomb. We thought it would be a good word to describe this stone, this crystal that we have that is related to that. In many ways, everyone that deals with this crystal in the game is close to bringing problems to everyone that is around. And we wanted this to be the main piece of the game.
Cool. Awesome. And now I know that people may or may not have heard of Dolmen before, so it is already out there in the world. But how long has it taken to get to this point?
Oh, it's been a long journey since the beginning of the project. We started at late 2016, so it's been almost 5 years now, and probably just a bit more to come out. But we and about our journey, if it wasn't the support that we had since the beginning, either our community, the Kickstarters, and you guys, I believe we would not be here right now.
Lovely. How have you been inspired by other games? You mentioned like the Souls-like obviously inspires it. You know, are there other games that inspire you? And also, what games do the teams like?
First of all, regarding inspirations, a lot of games came to us when we were producing the game and when we were first thinking of it. Obviously, we are really passionate and we really love Souls-like games. So Bloodborne, Dark Souls, those games were our main inspirations. But we drew inspirations from all different kind of sources. So we had inspirations in Dead Space, in Mass Effect, and also not only inspirations in other games, but also inspirations in movies and Lovecraftian stories. For example, Alien and Geiger, and those were our main inspirations. About games that we most like and games that our team likes, it's really hard to say because we have a team that ranges from liking Dota to CS and Souls-like games. But what I can really tell you is that everyone of our team is passionate about the project because they love doing what they do, which is a hardcore game.
Yeah, and that makes sense as well when you get hands on Dolmen, all these inspirations that have come in. So the game is set in a sci-fi universe. Is there any specific reason you decided to go down that route? Was there any other routes that you considered at first?
Yeah. Well, the humans are afraid of what they don't know. And the universe has infinite possibilities. There is always something unknown that we can explore in space. So that sci-fi setting really was something that we could use to throw everything that our insane minds could come with. So we wanted to use the sci-fi as a tool to reach this goal, to present the player a world of unknown that he can fear and he can enjoy it.
No, absolutely. And while we're kind of on the point of humans and Earth, you guys are based in Brazil, which is awesome. Are there any specific challenges that you face during development because of that, or just in general?
Yeah, there were a lot of challenges that we faced along this 5-year journey. We obviously had to adapt our workflow in these late years. So 2020 and 2021 was a really challenge for us. But it was something that we could adapt well, especially because even that we're based in Brazil, we're not only based in a single location in Brazil. We have people spread across the country. So it was easy enough to overcome that challenge. But there were several challenges since getting development kits and finding people that are really capable of helping us to deliver this amazing game, and that's what we gathered, and that's something that our company appreciates the most and really gives value is the people that we work with. They were really incredible people, and they were really rare over here.
Absolutely, that's really cool. Kind of on that theme of development and challenges, given how development and technology often dictates how a game evolves throughout its development, how kind of close are you to the original concept that you guys came up for Dolmen?
Well, there are different point of views on that answer, especially because we started really small. And the journey of the game, for example, it started as a concept from a few friends that get together and they brainstormed it for months, the game. So it diverged in two senses. And one of them, when we first started the game is huge and is insane and has a lot of background on it. It has all this universe around it. So a lot of it has been built. So people that loves lore and loves the universe that we are creating, they will have a lot to explore on that side. But the game from its original concept evolved a lot, especially now that we have more tools at our disposal. So on the tech side, it advanced way better than we imagined. Back 2016, we didn't have all the resources that we have now. So, of course, we made some sacrifices here and there and in order to achieve our goal. But we're never happy with satisfied that point of satisfaction, you know. We want to reach more. At the end of the day, this is also a game and we are having fun, but on top of all, we want to make a brilliant game for the player.
Absolutely. And speaking about like making the game and the development of the game, seeing as you are lead programmer as well, what was the hardest part of making the actual game?
I believe that we could have gone into different options, especially, for example, we could have wanted to make it a game that was simpler or smaller or not have that many hours of gameplay. But we decided to go to a hardcore game, even that's a first game of our company. So we decided to go full in into that challenge. We faced a lot of challenges, as I mentioned previously, but I believe the hardest part of the game was finding the correct professionals and focusing on what we were doing, and keeping yourself focused for 5 years on a single game is something that is challenging for everyone, especially right now. So it was a difficult decision, but we wanted to make that. Regarding programming and as a programmer, there's a lot of that I could keep talking about what is the harder. Multiplayer is always challenging, but finding that balancing that is not unfair, but is hard. So we wanted to aim hardcore players. So this was really something that was hard.
So you mentioned like 5 years of development, which is a crazy long time. How have you kept yourself motivated? How have the team kept themselves motivated?
I won't say that it was easy because it wasn't, but I would say that most of all, we were always having these meetings in order to play the game. Even now that we are remote, we keep getting up every day and making a meeting and showcasing what we are doing and working alongside each one of us. Also, a lot of things that happened before COVID was the events. The events always made us super happy. So showcasing the game to everyone and getting the players to play the game and see how they react, it was something incredible for us. It really made us feel proud of what we were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like everyone's missing that event feeling, right? When you actually get to see people on the games and you're like, oh, wow, everyone's loving our games. I think it's something that everyone is missing, definitely. Speaking of kind of motivation and happy times, what are you most proud of this game? What have you guys worked on that you're like, yeah, we did that?
I believe that the universe that we created is amazing. It has a lot of background from it. So, for example, we even made some comics for it that we prepared. We have a lot of story, some crazy cinematics. So we're really proud of the universe that we created, this game that we made, and achieving what we did is what makes us feel proud. And now that we have partnered with you, getting to expand that universe and getting to get closer to our original concept and what we meant for it, that is something that makes us really happy.
Cool. Awesome. Speaking of partnership with us, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch on their brand new label?
That's really an amazing feeling for us. Koch really helped us and takes care of the operation that we couldn't make it for ourselves. They have an amazing team of QA localization, so we can reach different countries and players everywhere. We have a great producer that worked with us, helping us reach our goals and really deliver the game that we want. And without Koch opened the doors for us on that sense. And being part of this new label is a great opportunity for us, and also to know other game developers and expand the game community. And and to meet you as well. We really thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. We are so happy to have you guys on board. And more importantly, I am so excited to actually let people play this game at some point under this new label. So thank you so much for your time, Gabriel. It's been awesome talking to you. And let's release Dolmen at some point under the new label. Thank you for your time and see you later.
Thank you. See you.
Now, the first title from Prime Matter will be the beautiful, highly anticipated King's Bounty 2. We have a first look at the gameplay trailer, and then Opal got a chance to sit down and talk with CEO Nikolai Baryshnikov.
The balance is off. Our land, Nostria, dances on the knife's edge of fate. King Claudius, my father, cannot lead, and his absence has set the realm in motion. Something is coming. Now the burden of the crown falls onto me. Nostria was flourishing, but there is unrest.
It used to be beautiful here. My wife and I had a nice life then.
Conspiracy, sabotage, necromancy. They all threaten this land asunder. But we must unite, for distorted terrors are advancing. Rumors tell of a false prophet, putting our hope in something that does not exist. A seer foretells that our Savior is among us. People of Nostria, you laid faith in my father, do so to me. We must look towards the horizon, fight back the darkness, and preserve the light of our land. For Nostria!
guys, thanks for joining me, and I am joined by Nikolai Barinshnikov from 1C Entertainment, who is CEO and creator of King's Bounty 2. So King's Bounty has been years in development and has a 30-year pedigree. So what is it that makes King's Bounty 2 so special?
The original King's Bounty was a grandfather of games of series like Heroes of Might and Magic. So it created these turn-based gameplay when you have a hex-based battlefield and the troops are moving in turns, like chess pieces on the board. So I think that's the key. The cornerstone of King's Bounty.
Absolutely, and kind of speaking about that, and I know as you mentioned, the first King's Bounties was 1990, and then you had the King's Bounty that you guys created in the 2000s. What technical improvements, now that we're in 2021, are you most excited about implementing into the new King's Bounty 2?
Well, I'm a huge fan of the core aspect of the game with tactical battles. And if in the previous games, the battlefield was always a flat surface, so now we're bringing the battlefield into 3D. So we will have, line of sights, hills, like simple example, if your archers are located on the hill, they will do like extra damage for the high ground, etc. So moving the battlefield to 3D is a huge step forward. And then the whole role-playing part, the exploration part, we decided to move more towards games like, Fable or Mass Effect, kind of, epic, big role-playing games, as opposed to have a top-down isometric view of, tiny little character on a horse just galloping around the map. So we are moving towards this kind of epic fantasy adventure. Because this is not like a small indie title anymore. This is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, production we've done in Moscow so far.
So speaking of the other King's Bounty games, will this King's Bounty 2 follow the other stories of the games, or will it be a standalone title?
No, the game will not follow on any previous games. But even the previous King's Bounty, they all sort of like disconnected. There was like the main protagonist, there are a bunch of evil guys. There's like a small quest. And I would say that a previous King's Bounty, it was not like an epic RPG adventure. So the game was more about just battling random monsters on the map and solving some little quests. And then King's Bounty 2 is really, a epic adventure. We had spent like dozens of hours solving puzzles, working with different factions, making decisions that change the character and the world. So we're really moving much more towards, an epic RPG. However, this is a rare combination where our game, King's Bounty, is not an action RPG. It's not a Witcher game where you have to, press buttons on your joysticks and battle enemies in the field. It's interesting crossbreed of a high fantasy role-playing game with a tactical strategy title, which it's not like quote unquote was never done on console, but this is fairly unique combination for the console. And for me, like a great inspiration was a modern remake of XCOM, for example, because I was a huge fan of XCOM that was released in 1994, 1996, and the modern console reinventing of XCOM. This is something we're trying to achieve with King's Bounty, really make a modern game that works well on modern platforms, that works well with current understanding of gamers, how a game should look like. So we're trying to enhance it in every possible direction.
Yeah, cool, awesome. Kind of speaking about the story of King's Bounty 2 and how it differs, it appears to have a darker, more gritty aesthetic compared to its predecessors. What was the design philosophy around that? Why did you decide to go with that instead?
That's an interesting question. We've been debating on the design approach. And again, as I said, we spent a lot of time prototyping, working on the core gameplay and the looks and the art of the game. Previous game had this more cartoonish, kind of fancy indie look, but we decided we are now trying to play in a different league. We're trying to make a much bigger title, a big game, an epic adventure. We've been, astonished by, modern fantasy titles, both in Hollywood and in games, and we thought that this is a good idea actually to upgrade King's Bounty to what we call like high fantasy or like realistic fantasy. So it's not a dark fantasy like Kingdom Come when they're like, you know, dirty peasants, everything is bad. No, it's more like, as I said, like high fantasy, you know, epic characters. If there's a dragon, it looks like a dragon, not like a toy. If there's a villain, you know, he or she looks like a real bad person. So that was the main philosophy. Plus, you know, game development evolves, and I don't think that it's a good idea to, you know, take a game of 2008 and just make a replica with slightly enhanced graphics in 2021. So you need, especially for consoles, there's a specific expectation from somebody coming to the store or buying the game digitally or online. Okay, this is like a 49.59 game. It has to look graphically and gameplay-wise like this. There's an expectation, and we believe that that's what we had to do.
Yeah, so we've mentioned that this game combines different kind of like ways that you can play the game, basically, you know, from third-person RPG elements to this unique fighting system, this kind of chess-like fighting system. Kind of, why did you choose, you know, with the evolution of game design and how people play games, why did you choose to stick to these hybrid game mechanics? Do you think that this is kind of what makes King's Bounty?
Absolutely. I think you got it spot on, so I don't even need to answer. King's Bounty is again, is a grandfather of turn-based games. So if you remove tactical combat from King's Bounty, then it becomes, I don't know, Mass Effect or Kingdom Come. So so we can play around with evolution of this gameplay, make it more fun or realistic. But obviously, this is the core. So this is a tactical game with a lot of role-playing aspects and high fantasy aspects, and not the other way around. So again, gamers who like RPG with shooting elements, games like Cyberpunk, this King's Bounty is probably not for them. I'm sorry, it's a different game.
Yeah, and in terms of, we've mentioned kind of this new 3D world that you're creating when it comes to the fighting style, and then these RPG mechanics and making this world feel more alive and more exciting. What was actually the hardest part of you making the game? What took the longest time? What kind of caused you the most headaches?
Hard to say. First of all, this is a multiple platform game, so there are specific technical issues that prolong the development. If you make just, let's say, a PC title or just a PlayStation game, then you are not having a headache of porting to different platforms, getting different specifications, TCRs, approvals. So that adds a lot. And then secondly, the production itself. As soon as we went away from this kind of cartoonish easy-looking isometric view into a 3D high fantasy and the production of assets. So we wanted to build like a huge map. We wanted to populate this map with a lot of characters that would just move around, go somewhere, have their own like stories. Then we decided to, instead of having like text dialogues, we decided to produce a lot of engine-based cutscenes to push the story, to explain what's going on. So we even had to buy our motion capture studio. We worked with like a dozen of actors, and there are hours and hours and hours of in-game based cutscenes, which in the past could be just dialogues and pieces of text. That was another huge complication.
No, absolutely. And then the final question, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch and being on their brand new gaming label?
Oh, that provides us a lot of additional support because I'm not sure that all gamers understand how games get to the market. So making a game, writing pieces of code or drawing this amazing sketch of a dragon is only half of the puzzle. So it's like yin yang. You need a lot of support from production people, testing, localization, manufacturing retail units, putting all this units into the retail shops in the world, making mass market communications. So we decided to cooperate with Koch Media. That seemed to be the ideal partner. So we are on the market for many, many years. And I would say very honestly, I was personally a bit scared if we do it just ourselves, that we might not have the human resources to deliver the information about the game itself. We'll work with all the platform holders as effectively as in a co-production and co-publishing with such esteemed partners, Koch Media, Embracer Group. So I'm quite happy.
Awesome. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for your time, Nikolai. And I cannot wait for people to get their hands on King's Bounty too.
Oh, me too. Trust me, me too. After 2 years of development, that's going to be one of the most exciting days for me in 2021.
We have 12 titles. We keep saying it. And honestly, I shouldn't have a favorite. It's like picking between a favorite child. However, this next title speaks to me on a gaming level unlike any other. This third-person action-adventure shooter will keep you up at night tossing and turning with its horrific, nightmarish creatures. Think Alice in Wonderland meets Alien, or as one US journalist put it, Tomb Standing. Guys, sit back, relax, grab a pillow, because you get a world-exclusive look at Scars Above.
Good job. Dr. Ward, Dr. Yoshida, get to the bridge, please. Time to see what's inside our alien guest. Telemetry check.
Telemetry check. Here go.
Wow. How is this possible? What planet is this? How did I end up here? Log entry. The gate has an internal conduction system. The 3 points on the rim seem sensitive. A targeted blast of electricity should cause a reaction. The debris. It's from Hermes. It must have splintered off as it entered the atmosphere. Mira! It's still intact. What the hell was that? Log entry. The creature has multiple salivary glands in its thoracic region that seem to produce a highly venomous secretion. Wow. The whole place is covered with some kind of organic residue. Looks like Robinson managed to connect the MPU to the pillar. This will help me get through that tissue webbing. And I'm taking the MPU. Who were the architects of this place? Did they build these towering monuments to serve a purpose, or as a testament to their might? Were they looking for answers, or solving a problem? Oh my god! This thing was huge. The appendages are dripping with the fluid that's freezing the water. There's the brain and the neural pathways leading to various organs. The pseudocerebrum seems to be generating an electrical charge. This neural pathway is conducting large amounts of bioelectricity. This gland is secreting the cryogenic fluid that's freezing the water. The cocktail of digestive acids is dissolving local plant life into homogeneous matter. The process seems to be aided by bioelectricity.
That really was something. And last week, Opal had a chance to talk to the developers, Mad Head Games, and ask them what their game was all about.
Hello there, guys. Joining me now from Novi Sad in Serbia is Ivan Zorkic, game director at Mad Head Games, who's going to tell us all about his new project. So, Ivan, what's Scars Above all about?
Hey there. Scars Above, an alien object appears near Earth. And a team of astronauts is sent to explore it, to do a close-range scan. However, for some reason that I don't want to go into now, this results in them in an event which causes them to be transported to an unknown alien planet. So our protagonist, Kate Ward, who is a mission specialist, she's an astrobiologist with a background in engineering. She's one of the members of the team of astronauts, of the team called SCAR team, which is Sentient Contact Assessment and Response. So she is on the ship doing the scan, and she ends up on this stranded on this alien planet. So one moment she's with her team in the ship, and the other moment she's on this strange planet alone. So she explores. She finds out that her team is also stranded on the planet. She has to find them first, and it seems that some time has passed. She doesn't understand why. And also the planet is very hostile. So there's a bunch of dangerous creatures, monsters, and everything seems to want to kill her and the rest of her crew. So she needs to, find out what's going on, solve this mystery. How did they end up here? What does this planet want from them? And, the story unravels and she actually learns about the place and learns about the mystery behind it. But it's all about, being stranded on this kind of scary, but also in a way strangely beautiful world, and facing a lot of nasty creatures and monsters.
Yeah. So it's like kind of keeping on that theme of the realm of possibility and whatnot. How much in the game has its roots in the real world, and how much is just plain crazy sci-fi?
Well, it's mostly sci-fi, but the themes come from the real world. So they're inspired by the real world. I think the best stories come from the real world, even if they're, about, as I said, dragons or fairy tales, and of course, spaceships and space exploration. Like, there's always this component. So on one level, Scars Above is about reason versus terror. And this is a very important topic to me, and that's a very real world topic for me. Like, in our world, a lot of bad things come out of fear. And this fear, gives birth to some unreasonably dark actions, which lead to more bad things and more fear and more bad things. And in a way, Scars Above is like, for me, a metaphor for reason standing up against terror, science against darkness, knowledge against ignorance.
So apart from kind of staying within sci-fi and obviously that kind of opening up the possibility that this can actually happen makes sci-fi what it is there any other important reason to you to keep, that sense of realism still there in the game?
So there is, yes, there is a reason to keep realism, but I think the better word is to make it believable. So, if you go for absolute realism, you're kind of limited on, what you can tell, the story you can tell. It kind of is like there is fiction element to the sci-fi, right? But we want to make it believable. And the reason why this is important is because I would like to create this what if vibe. I would like it if people actually ask themselves, like, what if this really happened? What would I do if I were suddenly stranded somewhere on this strange, far away from home world, surrounded with monsters and terrors? Like, if you make this believable, people might actually think more about it. So we don't want to go super realistic. But we do want to make it believable so that, because immersion is really important, so that people get immersed in this world and start thinking, like, what would I do if I was in this situation, and, what if this was really, what if this happens someday? What if an alien object does appear near Earth someday, and what would happen?
Absolutely. And then you mentioned the lead protagonist, Kate Ward. You told about her job title. What else about her? Who is she? Why is she?
Kate is awesome. We love her. So Kate is a very strong and very capable, but also a very caring person. So she's an astronaut. She's a scientist, a team member, a colleague, an explorer, and she always has this childlike scientific curiosity. But one thing she is not, and that's a warrior, like a trained warrior. She's not a soldier, so she's not like a space commando or anything. And and she does end up in a situation where she needs to fight for her life. So that's a theme that's kind of really interesting to us. Because the fact that she's not a trained combatant doesn't mean she's not capable. So she has a strong will, a sharp mind, and she's very brave and tough. But she's under tremendous stress in our game, and we want to show how vulnerable she is, how scared she is, how distressed. Because true courage doesn't it doesn't come out of lack of fear. It comes in face of fear. So we do want to show this fear and it's actually like this, the fact that she's overcoming this, like fighting her emotions, fighting all the stress, that makes her courageous, and that's great. So she gets frightened, she fights her emotions, she's susceptible to panic, which I think kind of makes her relatable. Like she's not like I'm all out of gum, I'm kicking ass and chewing bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum. Like that's not her. She is like her heart pounds, her voice breaks, she trembles. But then, and that's what I really like when her voice breaks, when she's like really scared, but she like clenches her fist, and the adrenaline kicks in, and she pushes through, no matter the obstacle, and she does it using her mind, and using science and using her cunning to craft these weapons and gadgets and survive against the odds.
Awesome. So you mentioned that Kate's a team player and that Scar gets sent up. Who else is in the team? Who else are we going to be meeting on this adventure?
So she's a part of a 4-person team. There is the commander of the mission, Commander Robinson, Richard Robinson, and he is like a person with a military background, like a pilot and an officer, and like he is the commander after all. But the rest of the team are mission specialists, because this is also kind of like the idea that it's this alien object appears, we send scientists and explorers trying to figure what's going on. So Kate is joined by her close friend Tamara, who is and also like a scientist and an astronaut, and by Mike, a little bit younger member of the team, but who is also like a communications expert, and like they're all scientists working together to solve this mystery. But Kate does get separated from them, and part of the game is actually uncovering the fate of her other team members, and I don't want to spoil anything, but Kate obviously cares a lot about her teammates and her friends.
Speaking of best feelings that you can have, what are you most proud of up to date of Scars Above?
I'm actually gonna give you a corny but very true answer. I'm most proud of the team. So like making a game is a huge effort, and it requires a lot of hard work, focus, energy, dedication, but also like cooperation, communication, support. So it's just like looking at a group of people working together on a common goal, that's really inspiring. And I think that's truly the case with any development team. Like when you ask them like what you're most proud of, and I keep thinking like one day in the far future, I may actually forget some of the details during the development, but I will always remember the people I worked with.
That's awesome. And then last question, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch and being on their brand new publishing label?
There's a bunch of benefits, but like, having access to certain resources, to experience. This is a game, with many firsts for us. So having someone to just like, share thoughts and share the experience is really valuable. But, on a personal level, I have to say this, and I'm being perfectly honest, like the biggest benefit for me was meeting a bunch of great people on your side. And I truly mean this, like it's a continuing pleasure to work with you, not just talking about the game or how we can make it better, but just like we talk a lot, as like we chat about various things. Just meeting you guys, like it's a tremendous boost to what we're doing. And I don't want to downplay like the obvious benefits, because there's a lot of them, like their infrastructure, the resources. But for me personally, it's just like meeting and getting to hang out with you guys. That's really awesome.
Absolutely. And it's a pleasure to hang out with you as well, Ivan. And thank you so much for your time. I cannot wait to let people play Scars Above, because I know that we have so much fun with it in the office. So thank you very much. And yeah, we can't wait to see more.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to people playing the game. We're really excited about it. So, and thank you for this talk. Yeah.
And now for something completely different. When Brian Fargo himself, the granddaddy of top-down isometric RPGs, says he is excited about a game, that's gotta mean Prime Matter is getting something right. Encased is an isometric dystopian sci-fi RPG scheduled for release this autumn. And this new trailer, which we're unveiling today, should give you a pretty good flavor of what the game is all about.
It's 1976, and the future has arrived. But here's the skinny. We at Cronus need you. Cronus was formed after a dome-like structure was discovered 5 years ago. Was it from our ancient past? Was it made by aliens? Does it run on perfectly harmless nuclear power? We need to know, and humanity is waiting for you to help unlock its secrets. Descend into the dome itself and join one of our incredible research teams. The only question is, which wing of Cronus is the best fit for you? If you like taking orders, cracking heads, ultra-violence, and guns, lots of guns, then the Black Wing is for you. Can you build and repair incredible technology, but not expect any credit for it? You sound like an engineer to us. Welcome to the Blue Wing. Are you a doctor, scientist, mathematician, or any other type of brainiac? We've got you covered in the White Wing. Do you like taking credit for the hard work of others, but never do anything yourself? Those forms won't fill themselves. That's management, mister. And the Silver Wing awaits. Are you a criminal, prisoner, or have no discernible skills whatsoever? Then you're coming to the Orange Wing, like it or not. Are you ready for adventure? Are you ready to make the change with us? Are you ready to love it so much that you'll never want to leave? Then join Cronus and take the second giant leap for mankind under the dome.
And that's not all. Opal got to sit down with the creative brains behind Encased. Check it out.
Let's go to St. Petersburg in Russia and speak to Vyacheslav Kosahin, creative director of Dark Crystal Games and the brains behind their upcoming isometric RPG Encased. So, Slava, what is Encased?
So Encased is an old-school RPG in the sci-fi post-apocalyptic setting, basically.
Awesome. So the name Encased is kind of, it's a word and it has various meanings. What's the thinking behind the name?
The thinking behind the name comes from the setting of the game, from one main entity of it, which is the dome. The game takes place in the anomalous zone called the dome, which was found somewhere in the last unknown desert on the Earth and on our planet. And well, basically people who get in there, various scientists, technicians, soldiers and adventurers, they can't get back. This is sort of a one-way road. So those guys who explore the dome, they're encased in there, which I think makes some sense in this regard.
Absolutely. Yes. So I know that you guys have been developing this game for kind of a long time now. How long has it actually taken to get to the point where you are now?
So we are developing the game for 3.5 years now. We started late in 2017 with some pre-production, but obviously we have thoughts about a project like this for years and years before that, before those crystallized in something, something that really exists. So it takes 10 years of thinking behind this game, this project, and 3.5 years of actual production time to this point.
So considering how long it takes, how do you guys keep yourself so motivated just on one particular title?
Well, we can't say we have any problems with motivation or our own, because for most, if not everyone on the team, this is the dream project that comes to life. So that's fine in this regard. The motivation is always high, but also we are in the early access, and we're really open with the community from the very early stages of the project. And because of this openness and talks with the community, and we have had a crowdfunding, and now we are in the early access, we have this constant feedback on the project, both positive and sometimes negative, which obviously keeps us motivated. If we would be on our own for those like 3.5 years and some extra time we'll spend on developing this game, maybe the motivation could decline a little bit, but with those constant talks with the community, shared feedback, we're all good.
Awesome. And then kind of bringing it back to the game, given how development and technology often is basically dictates how the game evolves throughout its development, how close to the original concept that you came up with years and years ago are you now with the game that you have currently?
The overall concept, we managed to keep it alive. We managed to keep it true. It's a very old school CRPG type game, which is inspired by many golden classics of late 90s and early 2000s, and in that regard, it all those ideas survived through the process, which is really great. Most of the mechanics, abilities, perks, and all those little things which these RPGs are built from, we managed to put it in there too. But obviously, because technology changed and even time passes, some less important things, I'd say, like maybe graphics or maybe art style beats or maybe some topics and themes, we explore those, transformed and changed during the process, because making games and RPGs particularly, it's an iterative process and takes many iterations to figure out what is the heart, what is the idea you want to bring to the players. So those transformed and crystallized during this long development. But the original concept, the very heart of it's all in there, which is really great.
Yeah, so speaking about the concept, what's the actual narrative of Encased?
The story of Encased is a story about exploring this anomalous zone, the Dome. The player starts as an employee of this Cronus organization, which is the only organization that controls entire Dome research and studying. There are 5 departments which are called wings a player can start in, which affects the game a lot and the story of the game. This is the Black Wing, which are the security and police services. There are White Wing, which are scientists and medics. There is the Silver Wing, which are the management and ruling wing of the Dome of the Cronus. There are Blue Wing, which are technicians and engineers, and there is this special Orange Wing, which contains ex-convicts which were freed to go to the Dome to do various manual labor.
So you've mentioned that the game is set in the early 70s. Not many games have been set in that time period. What prompted you to pick that specific time period?
Well, we think that 70s is the perfect time for like our game, what we are doing, because 70s is like the last tick on the timeline of the humanity, while there were some blind spots on the planet. First satellites and first people in space, it's all happened in late 50s and early 60s, right? And 70s is the last spot on the timeline when there are some, when satellites do not have this complete web surrounding the Earth and the planet, and there are some blind spots where such an amazing and dangerous place like Dome can be hidden. And from that place, from that time, the story takes its alternative path instead of going further to the space, humanity sort of descends into the dome to study it and to do those scientific researches and do those miraculous discoveries, basically.
Yeah, so you mentioned that this is kind of like almost a parallel universe. How far did you deviate from what actually happened in the 70s compared to what happens in the game? I guess it's seeing, as you said, that it devolves, it's quite a bit.
Yeah, obviously. So the main topic would be obviously that instead of continuing the Cold War, the West and the East, if we can call those, they instead start to explore the ideas of internationalism and exploring the dome together and forming that super corporation Cronus, which is actually the only foundation that explores the dome, controls all the researches and controls the flow of artifacts and scientific researches which comes from the dome into the rest of the world. And yeah, those ideas are quite different from what happened in the real world, I guess.
And kind of bringing it back to the real world almost. Obviously, you guys are based in Russia, and life in the 70s was very different than life was in the West. How much of that do you think translates to an international audience once we get out there? And how much do you think people won't understand because they just, no one kind of really lived over there, or no one really knew what was happening over there?
Well, as I said, I think the game pursues the ideas of internationalism when very different parties across the world could put their own struggles, political and other struggles, aside to humanity become something bigger when it's combined with everyone is united together to ascend to be something more and to explore the dome, its dangers and its discoveries, basically.
Absolutely. Now bringing it kind of back to you guys and the developers again. You mentioned that you were inspired by other games. What games really truly inspired it? Not just games, but media. And also, what do you and the team like as well when it comes to video games?
Well, we are here all the hardcore RPG fans, so it's not secret why we, I suppose, picked up a project like this to develop. And it's not a secret that the game is it's in a very hard way was inspired by the Fallout series, and the other great RPG games of late 90s and early 2000s, and some modern ones too, actually.
So speaking about development, what was the hardest part of making the game for you guys?
I think the easier question would be what was the easy part. I can't really come with much things which were easy. It's all it's an everyday struggle in a way. It's a marathon, but it's a happy marathon, and it's a happy everyday struggle basically for us.
Absolutely. And then moving it into that more positive thing, the happy marathon, what are you most proud of when it comes to Encased?
I'm obviously proud of both the team and the project itself, because both us here in the team and our community, we often forget that 3.5 years ago there was nothing, there was emptiness, nothing existed. And here now, 3.5 years later, both with the team effort and the feedback which we get from the community, there is this great universe, a curious world which is almost ready to be explored and to be adventured inside, basically.
And then moving on to the last question, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch Media and being on their new label?
So we think that signing with a partner as Koch Media is really great, because it not only benefits us as developers, but such partnership also benefits our community, our players. We as the developers, we get more time to work on the project and polish it so it would be in the perfect state, while our players will enjoy more localizations which will make the game more accessible to the wider audience. We'll get the voiceover done, which just make the game better and bring it on some other higher level.
From an isometric dystopian sci-fi RPG to our next title, which is a fresh take on the action-adventure genre. This team, all the way from Iceland, specifically built a mocap studio for this title and has the incredible talent Aldous Hamilton as their lead protagonist. I got to sit down with the guys and ask them, what is this game all about?
So Echoes of the End is a cinematic, narrative-driven action-adventure game about Rin, a person who has trained all her life to be a warrior in service to a throne and is now searching and finding her own identity as she's cast away from the life she's always known. It's a game we wanted to make all our lives, basically. And for us, what we really wanted to explore was a marriage of a cinematic experience and the narrative, choice-driven storytelling of RPGs. Finding that bridge and union is what really inspired us to go and make our own video game.
Exactly, and such a big integral part of the experience is how you as a player choose to interact with the characters around you, the different companions, the characters that you'll run into when you're going about in the game and trying to solve all the issues that the player that you'll be facing as a player.
What was the inspiration behind it?
We're at a remarkable point in the game industry where, a relatively small team is able to tackle such an ambitious vision, and it's actually reasonable. And I think we've just recently arrived at that point. There have been some really great games making leaps in the past few years, kind of paving the way for this as the tools and hardware and software get more accessible and affordable for smaller developers. We kind of, in the early days of Midgard, we came to realize that a game like this might be possible. And it seemed unreal to us that it might be at the time. But growing the team and building up the tech and pipelines in-house, we saw that this was, in fact, possible. And it's an absolute dream for everyone at the company to, be privileged enough to work on a game like this and to really shape the game that we all want to make.
Yeah, so kind of sticking on that point of development and how technology often drives the direction of how a game evolves throughout its development. How close to the original concept is the game now?
That's a really good question. So it's rather close. I would say we didn't really do any large pivots. We did make some changes, of course, as the vision evolved and as we understood better kind of what the game was going to be and kind of how we scoped it to fit a team that would be able to execute on it. But I think, we were always, from day one that the idea for the game kind of conceptualized, we were looking at the technology that was allow us to make this game, going for really, realistic and stunning visuals, digital doubles for characters, scanned environments, next-gen development engines, next-gen game engines, kind of all those things were in place for us to make the game. I think the primary things that have changed in the making of the game are more in the details of the execution of that, how we structure the story, what kind of game mechanics we want in a game like that, and really what the identity of our game is and how we separate that from other games.
We genuinely have been making this game, even though it is slightly different.
Yeah.
My work as narrative director has not had to change a lot.
Exactly, yeah.
We've mentioned, obviously, at the start and throughout what we've spoke about so far that you guys are based in Iceland and everyone knows the, picturesque scenery of Iceland. Did you get much inspiration from your homeland in the environment?
Yes, absolutely. Iceland is such a phenomenal place to live in, and it's a beautiful country that's been featured in, many films and video games before us. And the funny thing is that us growing up in Iceland, this is normalcy for us. This is what we've been used to. It isn't until we visit other countries that we realize that the rest of the world isn't a fantasy land.
Oh my God, trees!
Yes. So, but yeah, I mean, it's absolutely inspired by Iceland. And, you know, I was working as a tour guide for the longest time, and a lot of us like grew up in the country from different locations. And we pulled from those locations in the game. And even for some of them, we have nearly one-to-one replicas of them, you know, in the game. But the game itself isn't based in Iceland, of course. We're just taking inspiration from the more fantasy level vistas and visuals.
Because while all this is true, while we love Iceland and while we'd be fools not to utilize the access we have to Icelandic natural phenomenons to scan and take references from, we don't want to make a game about Vikings because it's something that's been done a lot, and we really want to make a unique IP that is ours and that no one has seen before.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on characters, and you mentioned the main character at the very start. Tell us about her. Tell us, you know, what made you choose her? Why does she exist the way that she exists?
I'll hand that one off to you, I think.
Yeah, it's always a tricky question to answer without getting into any sort of spoilers.
Yeah.
But Rin is, as I say, she is a character, a person trained from birth to be a weapon in service to the crown. I was really fascinating in exploring the difference between a person that is, the juxtaposition between purpose and independence. And Rin is a character burdened by purpose and chained to it. She has been given a purpose, not of her own choosing, not by her own volition, but one that she has inherent to her birth and very existence. Throughout this game in particular, we want to explore the journey of going beyond that purpose and going beyond what role you are born into and seizing the world by the throat, basically. And I would say that she's born with certain powers that make her both a pariah and a uniquely powerful individual. But with that power come certain challenges and certain superstitions that she's challenged to overcome. I think that's general enough to avoid spoilers.
Yeah,
Would you like to add to that?
And you know, just to add a layer to that, I think with the main character, she's, you know, throughout the game, you're constantly meeting new people. We're setting her in, you know, we start with her familiar setting, her kind of role in society, and her kind of what's expected of her, and we kind of break free from that throughout the game as we meet different characters, and Rin kind of finds her own path and purpose, like Magnus spoke on. And I think that's really where the player also steps in and kind of forms those new relationships that Rin forms throughout the game, and really is an effector on those. I think you know, what really heightens Rin as a character in the game is the performance by the excellent actress behind her, who is Aldís Amma Hamilton, who is absolutely phenomenal at portraying such an awesome character.
What's the hardest part of game development so far? I know you guys are still in the development, but what's been the most challenging?
The most challenging part of game development?
I think that's a different answer for every game.
Yes, I think that's a different answer for every game, and I think it even might be a different answer for every team member, depending on the different perspective that they have into the game development. I think for us, you know, it's been vitally important to find the right people to work on the game. And that's a really difficult thing to do, finding the right people who you believe in and who are that, you know, really passionate about making games like this. And we've been lucky enough to find the right people so far, and we have, you know, exceptionally talented people on board with us making this game. And I think while that is, you know, often from the outset, it's an invisible part of game development, but it's absolutely essential and extremely difficult.
Yeah, so you kind of mentioned before that, you know, Iceland's quite small. Does that mean that you guys kind of struggle to find that talent that's out there, or is it quite rich in terms of game development?
So, as usual, Iceland is excellent per capita. We're the best at everything per capita. And among those in the Nordics, we have the most developers per capita. That's not really a useful metric when you look at the fact that we're only like 300,000 people, basically a small fisher town someplace. But, you know, Iceland is completely unique in the way that CCP, another pretty well-known developer here in Iceland, kind of paved the way for all the other game developers here that are now thriving. We have a great educational infrastructure that, pretty much covers all the different fields of game development here in Iceland. So we have exceptional talent coming out. And so I think, considering the size, we have great access to talent. And another part of it is that we've had a lot of Icelanders who got into game development early and moved to other countries and then moved back with a lot of experience helping new teams form and build games here. So while it's definitely a challenge to find people in a smaller nation, we're blessed by the fact that we do have exceptional talent here, and we have an educational system that is actively each year graduating new students who know game development.
What Halldór is saying is that we're a nation of nerds.
Yes. And like another per capita is that, I don't know, it's an incredibly high number of people in Iceland who play games at all ages.
Yep.
Like an insanely high number.
Yeah, that's really crazy. And, we've kind of mentioned what's the most difficult part about game development, but what are you most proud of up until this point?
That's, it's not, it's a difficult question to answer because there's so many things. I mean, making games is, it takes so many people to do so many things for it to go correctly. And I think what we're most proud of is that so far we seem to be doing it correctly with the great people. So I think what we're most proud of is the team and the progress that we made with this team.
Yeah, I think that's a very good answer in general, that just the talent we've collected around us and the friendships that have formed so strongly within this company.
Yeah.
I think that's invaluable and is what's going to drive it forward.
And then finally, guys, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch Media and being part of their brand new label?
That's a great question. So obviously we touched on the part that we're kind of stuck in Iceland, so our outreach is quite limited on an island in the sea. No, but all jokes aside, the main benefit is that it's an extension of the team, and it's a great extension of the team.
Yeah.
We talk about the things that have been the most difficult, and that's building the team, and the things that we're most proud of, which is again the team that we built. And for us, Koch is a fantastic extension to the team. It's a publisher full of great people who are really passionate about games, and they're empowering us to deliver these games, worldwide. And I think that is anything a developer, an ambitious developer, could ask for in a publisher.
And we are absolutely glad to have you guys. Thank you so much for your time, and I cannot wait to give people more information about Echoes of the End. From one side of the globe all the way to the other, if you like the game Gothic and hardcore RPGs, The Last Oricru is just for you. I got to sit down with two of the guys from Gold Knights and talk all about them and their new game. Hello there guys, today I am joined by Gold Knights creative and game director Pavel Strnad and executive producer Vladimir Gershel to talk about their game, The Last Oricru.
Hi Opal.
Hi Opal.
So you guys make The Last Oricru. What is the game about?
It's an action RPG where I try to show the relativity of good and evil from different perspectives of living and breathing world.
So when you guys say living and breathing, what do you mean exactly?
It is important to understand that The Last Oricru is quite challenging and skill-based RPG, but compared to many other titles in this genre, our story does not take place in some dark and deadly realm. Waking up in a living and breathing sci-fi medieval world of Wardenia, players find themselves in the middle of war for supremacy over the whole planet.
There is something interesting about the war, as usually warriors of each side believe that they do the right thing, often fighting for survival and well-being of their people. So the idea of the game is to show the player the war and the euphoria of the winners, but also the misery of the losers, to make the player realize that the number of decisions he can make in the game will affect all the living beings in the world.
So you mentioned that you make choices during The Last Oricru. How impactful are they?
The impact is major. First of all, you are the one who decides which side will win the war. But there are many different roads through the game, and you can experience the whole game only after multiple playthroughs. I want to give every player his own experience and try not to push any moral code of what is wrong and what is right. Simply, you make the decision and actions, and based on that,
Individual characters have their own reactions. This creates different situations, so you can find your own friends and allies and play the way how you think it's right or fun.
Exactly. Each player can define their own path to side with different factions or betray them and influence the future of each race and in the end the entire planet, basically. And it is not done just by a few choices somewhere in dialogues or by completing some quests, but by your continuous actions and decisions. Let me give you an example. In many scenarios, you are asked to kill the general of Redkin people. And you can obviously refuse doing that, but if you decide to kill him, there are many possibilities of what you can do with his head, which serves as a proof of his death. You can keep it and become hero, or you can give it to the queen and come closer to her heart, or you can give it to another characters of this conflict with different outcomes.
While I'm playing, guys, if I decide to be a little bit mischievous and kind of go down the route of everyone hating me, what does that mean for me?
Yes, there is an option that you will try to do as much harm to do as many beings as possible, and there are some dark characters that will be pleased by that. However, cooperation with them may be eventually very painful for you. That's another interesting thing, that often there is some hidden party involved in many wars, which profits from both sides of the conflict and the conflict itself. So that's a bit of the hidden part in the game, which you can play, but it will be a little bit difficult to play.
So the game has co-op. Can a friend help me with the boss battles? Can we play the whole entire game together? How does this work?
You know those lonely nights when you play games which are super exciting for you, but you feel a little bit sad that you cannot share that experience with anyone? That was generally the idea.
Yeah, there is a great demand for couch play in the whole third-person action RPG genre. So we are sure that for our future audience, the co-op is going to be one of the most or the key features of our game. And that's why we went even farther. We have many situations what can be solved in co-op differently than in single player. So you can find new fun ways of how to kill some bosses, or solve some puzzles, or reach some special secret areas. But you know, at the end of the day, combat is bread and butter of an RPG. So if you, for example, play as a melee tank, while the second player plays magic support, you will enjoy tens of awesome hours of shared fun.
Oh, wait, so you're telling me there's magic and melee? What does this mean for the combat of the game?
Well, the combat is targeted at more experienced players. I'm very much on the wave of recent challenging RPGs that are based on the skills of the player, timing and stamina. We are trying to build some interesting magic mechanism in the game that would let you use some more than block and fast attack buttons.
But, you know, don't forget that our world has sci-fi roots. So what is for someone magic can be for more developed culture or technology.
But be prepared to die.
A lot.
Like a lot. Yeah, a lot.
A lot.
And finally, guys, I just want to ask you, what does it mean to be under Koch Media's brand new label?
Honestly, it was the best step we could do in our game development. It helped us dramatically increase the capacity of our development team and focus primarily on the game itself. And yet, we still have the full creative control over the game, and all the feedback we are getting is really helping us to make better games. So far, it was the best decision ever.
Yeah, I'm very pleased that I could use my long-standing experience with big publishing houses and restructure the game and the team to shape which was the right fit for such a strong partner as a Koch Media. From the very beginning of our cooperation with Pavel, we were thinking big and aiming at building a really memorable new game franchise. And being part of the starting portfolio of a brand new Koch Media label gives us a great opportunity to fully achieve it.
Thank you so much, Pavel and Vladimir, for your time. It's been awesome talking to you about everything The Lost Aura Crew, and I just can't wait for people to get their hands on it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
We teased it in the sizzle, and now let's hear from our friends at Starbreeze to talk about Payday 2, Payday 3, and their upcoming cooperation with Prime Matter.
Thank you, Jeff, and hi, everyone. We're excited to be here, excited to talk about Payday, and excited to be working with Prime Matter. At Starbreeze, we see Payday as the ultimate bank robbing experience, inspired by classic heist movies, providing adrenaline-fueled gameplay where you get to experience the thrill of being on the wrong side of the law with a smart plan and a gun in your hand. This is what we've been doing. Since the original game, Payday the Heist, through the sequel, Payday 2, to the upcoming Payday 3. And our ever-growing player community, our heisters, continue to be an inspiration for us in everything we do, pushing us to make the best Payday possible.
The world of Payday is an exaggerated reflection of reality where order is kept by the long arm of the law. At least until the heisters turn this order into chaos, giving the law the middle finger. That's when adrenaline truly kicks in and the outnumbered gang keeps beating the odds, often escaping with the cash in a hail of bullets. The Payday universe has an ongoing narrative that has been created over the years. The gang has built a reputation by going after the highest profile targets, setting up some of the craziest heist plans, and going up against some of the most powerful of enemies. And through all of this, the gang keeps coming out on top. In their exploits, the gang has become, as they call it, the tightest crew ever. The wider criminal underworld of Payday lives its own life, where movers and shakers want a piece of the action, or a piece of the Payday gang. In the gang's life of crime, they are way past the point of no return. And as we look ahead for what's to come, the gang will learn that there's no rest for the wicked.
This legacy is something that we treasure and will build on, expanding on this epic story, taking you all with us into the future of Payday. Many millions of players have enjoyed Payday so far. It's been an amazing journey for us at Starbreeze. On Steam, Payday 2 has the biggest player community of any game. This truly means the world to us.
Payday turns 10 this year, but we're only getting started. With our team hard at work, cooperation with Prime Matter and other partners, and above all, a fantastic player community, we are looking to the future with great anticipation.
I'm rich! It's Payday, fellas!
The release of Payday 3 is years away, but we could finish off today with a sneak peek of what we're working on, a taste of things to come.
Well, there you have it. Quite a lineup. And Opal, I know we're going to be hearing much more from Prime Matter in the weeks and months ahead, right?
That's a great question, Jeff. Prime Matter will be taking a huge leap into the streaming world. From June the 14th, we'll be streaming 3 times a week, every week, providing you guys with gameplay content, achievement and trophy hunting streams, as well as Dungeons and Dragons in our own universes, cooking streams, and so much more. We also want to get our developers involved and have it so that you guys get to know our developers better. Not only that, but expect to see a lot more shows from us in the future. And Jeff can help us out too.
Absolutely. I cannot wait to see what Prime Matter has for us in the future. Thanks for announcing with us yesterday at Summer Game Fest, and I look forward to being back with you again later this summer.
No worries, Jeff, and thank you for your time. It's been awesome hosting with you, and I can't wait to do more in the future. And a thanks to you guys watching, to the streamers who are co-streaming, to our new gamers who are looking forward to the titles that we've shown you today. We are focusing on making fun, unique, and honest content for you guys. So, stay safe, stay cool, and I will see you guys on Monday. Bye!
Well, I'm speechless. For those of you that have stuck with us until the post show, well, congratulations and welcome. I started yesterday by exuding a lot of energy and saying I'm gonna keep up this energy throughout E3 week, and Koch Media and Prime Matter just managed to suck almost all of that energy out of me with their showcase. Like, I think this is, in history, one of the top 2 worst E3 showcases of all time. And that is not a slant on the games or the developers featured. I was and still am excited for a lot of those games, but this show that we just watched, that was not the way to enter E3. I'm joined by Eirik right now. Let's get him in and let's talk about it. Eirik, what do you think? Yeah, they broke Eirik.
We at Koch Media want to make fun and engaging content. Where the hell did you show that? What the hell was this?
Yeah, it's like I said, I would actually say, if you are watching this clipped up on our page or up on YouTube, just the post show, I would say that don't bother with watching the entire show. Go to Gamereactor, read our pieces there, our video features, and learn about the titles there in a succinct form and an interesting form. The way that this show was structured was, it's just, they made every single mistake in the book. They show, don't tell. This is a showcase. You're supposed to show, then maybe talk over the gameplay or something along those lines. Most of the titles didn't have anything to show. Yes, they are in early development. Then maybe you should talk about them a little less. Or even one of those fake CG trailers that we always complain about is better than what just happened, where it's basically just talk. A fake interview with pre-approved questions, always ending on, oh, but isn't it great for your studio that you joined our publisher? Obviously, the question is going to be, yes. I mean, this is... That's okay. It's like, why even ask that question? And waiting all the way until the end for Payday 3. And, I mean, I'll give props where props are due. Starbreeze, they know how to do trailers. They didn't show much of the game, but I mean, it had hype music. It was, like, yeah, whoo. But pretty much the rest of the show, they talked for 14 minutes about a game that is coming out this year, and they didn't really show any gameplay while it was popping back and forth in an interview. And the only fun thing about that was, for those of you that know Swedish, is that dolmen means dick in Swedish, which, gave us a chuckle every now and again. But, yeah, I'm almost just at a loss of words for how bad that show was, especially contrasted with the promise of what it could have been. Right?
I think that's kind of the problem, because when they said, oh, we're not going to show Saints Row, Time Splitters, Metro, stuff like that, I thought, oh, great, then we'll probably see a bunch of gameplay and more deep dives into the stuff that's near in the future. Why wasn't Time Splitters and Saints Row and Metro and stuff like that here? Payday 3 is 2 years away at least. We didn't see, as you said, much of gameplay, and they almost didn't talk about the games. This is like a reporter going to a person that scored the final goal in the final in the European Championship. How do you feel? It was okay, I guess. You're not getting that kind of answer. I would appreciate, as you said, if now Starbreeze wanted to have some fun, and that lady who's really, really, really wetted those questions, and they just said, nah, Koch has been, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, regret it, but
they had a pre-recorded kind of hype reel that was, edited for pace and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even the segments where Jeff Keighley popped in, he was like, you could see it in his face. He was like, "Oh, what am I doing?" he didn't even memorize his lines. He was reading the lines from a screen. Not the only one during the show that was doing that, actually. Yeah, I would go so far as saying that this show was a travesty for Koch and their new label. I mean, you launch a new label with hype. You hype the stream where you're gonna be talking about all your titles, and then that's exactly what you do. You only talk about them. It's just like if you had taken each of those segments and put them up as a video on its own, that would have been fine. It would have been like a dev diary kind of insider interview type of thing, and those people interested in the game could seek that out to get more insight. That's fine. But this is an E3 showcase. You have the eyes of the world on you, and you just talk about the games, and you don't show anything. Again, a lot of these games that I'm also excited for are in early development, very early development. But then maybe this is not the place to give them a huge spotlight. Like, talking for a game for 12 minutes does not get us more hype for it. Rather than half a minute of like some fancy in-engine render, you know, and then and by the way, it's going to be this and this and this, and then move on to the next thing. And another thing that they did with this live stream is one of the deadly sins of E3. It was too long. It was way too long. Like, I know that the media brief that Ben talked about in the pre-show and Stefan from Germany also attended, that was more hype and more engaging than this was. And that was 50 minutes. This was an hour and a half. Thereabouts.
They basically swapped it, because both you and me have been on these kind of pre-briefings before. We're the kind of guys that maybe might want to know about this stuff, not as long as winded as this, but at least get a bit more details that we might dig more into.
Yeah,
we got the same presentation that Ben and Stefan got in this show. That might have helped, because that's kind of energy, and let's just keep moving and not let the nasty journalists ask questions and stuff like that. So swapping this could easily have been a Nintendo-like direct for I'll be kind of give them 30 minutes. That could have been good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't really know. It's like, yes, I'm being very harsh on this show because of the context that it was. Like, I could have enjoyed this and been taking quotes and getting more into the inspiration of the games. But this E3 as a show, an E3 showcase, is not the place for it. Also, it was too scripted and on the nose, in my opinion, and making it look like it was live. And you know, I like I said, this hasn't killed my anticipation for these titles, but it definitely did nothing to heighten it. Like, yeah.
It's a bit like we joked about in the chat, that you're making a game about now enjoying nature and stuff like that. You're from Iceland. Did you take any kind of inspiration from your homeland? Stuff like that. And as you said, this is a pre-prepped interview, and still they included an interview and a question where he couldn't answer.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, like when you're pre-recording an interview with pre-approved questions, and you ask a question, and the answer that comes back is, I don't really have an answer to that. You cut that question, you cut that answer, you move on. But yeah, not here. And then at the end, they talk like, Prime Matter is moving into streaming. There's going to be a lot of streams focused on developers. And it's like, okay. I truly hope that you learn a lesson and change up the format from what we just saw here. I'm rolling the trailer for Prime Matter that was shown at yesterday's show, and I just hope that people kind of look at this and think about this, not the show that we just saw, because there was a lot of talk without really giving information. Let me go over my notes here real quick. First of all, Painkiller. Talked about that a little bit without saying anything, except we know it's Saber Interactive. I'm excited for Saber now that it's basically the new It, with Team Limits and Tim Willits and company moving over there. So I'm excited to see more Painkiller, but I mean, the question was asked, hey, so what can you tell us about Painkiller? Nothing. Okay, moving on. The Chant by Breast Token. Just by watching this show, I have no idea what that game is. Yes, it's horror, like psychological horror. I think you mentioned, the camera over the shoulder a couple of times, and that it is made by a small but ever-growing team, with focus on quality. But I have no idea what it is. Like, if I hadn't read the preview that we have up on Gamereactor that goes more into detail, I would have absolutely no idea. So yeah, again, I recommend that you go over to Gamereactor and read our coverage there. Kingdom Come Deliverance is coming to Switch. First, when that popped up, we're like, oh, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. No, it's on the Switch. And they spent 8 minutes explaining how it was never the plan to bring it to the Switch. That was just a happy mistake coincidence that turned into reality. And then, oh yeah, there's Kingdom Come Deliverance soap. Great. Final Form did show a trailer that was out already yesterday, so you could see it on their YouTube channel already. But look, looks interesting. It's fine. But again, I mean, yesterday the post show went way over time, and we have already spent an hour and a half of just talking heads talking. So I'm gonna try to keep this as succinct as I can. Dolmen was talked about, like I said, for 14 minutes. It did show a little bit of a trailer, and this game is set for release in 2021, at least on their Steam page. And like I said, they talked for 14 minutes without showing any gameplay underneath or anything. They talked a lot about how, it's a Brazilian studio. I think actually one of her questions, if I can scroll and find it, that really stuck to me because it was hilarious. Let me find it in the chat here. Oh yeah, speaking of humans and Earth, you guys are based in Brazil, and then it's like, what a segue! What a segue! Yeah, I know I'm shitting a little bit on the people involved, but I'm just like, this not only took me by surprise, but whew. Let's see, King's Bounty 2, we talked about for a little bit. They also didn't show anything there, and kind of glossed over any of the other games in the King's Bounty series that don't have a number at the back of it. But they are upping it to like 3D RPG, still a hybrid with grid-based combat, which I would have loved to have seen. But I mean, we're seeing more in the trailer that I'm showing right here than we saw in the show. Scars Above, finally. When we got to that, we finally got some gameplay. And I enjoyed that gameplay a lot. I mean, maybe it was from the lack of any gameplay up to that point, but it looked interesting. What do you say?
Yeah, definitely. It was that, and obviously just a tiny talk about Payday 3 that got me, at least, more than get my heart pumping for one more time each minute.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it has been described as Alice in Wonderland meets Alien, where you play Kate Ward stranded on an alien planet. It actually it reminded me a little bit of a recent PS5 exclusive that. But yeah, looking a slightly more basic though. But you know, smaller games. Next up, we had Encased, which is an isometric dystopian RPG that happens in 1976. Ben was hyped for that in the pre-show. But again, killed the momentum with just talking about the game instead of showing. Are you seeing a theme emerge yet about what we felt about the show? Echoes of the End, a game that I'm personally excited for, developed by an Icelandic studio, Myrkur, which, you know, I may have some personal ties to that studio, but even that couldn't quite make me hyped from that presentation, because, again, talking, not showing. It's just... Same with the last Ori crew. And then, yeah, ended on Payday, which... Yeah, it had some hype behind it. I mean, some music. Of course, Payday 2 still has, you know, the biggest player base on Steam. So, yeah, I still think that the trailer that I'm running right now, the hype reel from yesterday, that could have been all they did for this E3, and they would have been in a better place than they are after this show right now.
Yeah, but that's kind of the confusing thing, because they ended that segment by saying, oh, we're giving you a tease of what's coming. We got that tease yesterday. That was the same exact image we got in the hype trailer.
Yep.
So you decided to compare Summer Game Fest Kickoff Live ended with Elden Ring. This one ended with an image we saw yesterday in the hype trailer. And with Starbreeze now just saying what they've been saying for 2 years now, since they announced Payday 3. But again, they made it even more interesting because they had music in it. They had it edited. The developers actually showed some passion instead of getting interviewed by a lady that apparently is very interested in knowing about how their childhood has affected them as developers.
Yeah, and isn't it great to be now a part of this publishing branch?
Yeah.
Which I'm sure it is. And like I said, and I'll say it again, this vitriol that we're spewing right now is not aimed at the games or the developers. I'm still hyped for a lot of these titles. It's just this show did nothing to help.
With all due respect, this is PR and marketing's fault. I said it in the chat, and I'll say it again. Embracer Group has spent a lot of money on very talented developers that are making games that I'm really excited about. But boy, they didn't spend money on their marketing and PR departments, because if anyone looked at this footage, edited footage, how the hell did this get posted? Again, no comment. We can't speak much about that answers and all that kind of stuff. Little gameplay. How?
Yeah, and Jeff Keighley on autopilot reading the teleprompter underneath the camera. But yeah, enough. Like I said, if you're watching this on our site as a review of this show, the review of the show is 0 out of 10. I think it's going to go down in history as top 2 worst E3 showcases ever. Which is super sad because it had interesting titles in it. It just dragged and dragged and dragged and talked without showing us what they were talking about, which is just the number one crime of an E3 showcase. Each of these segments on its own on YouTube would have been fine, but not all after each other in one long show. So, yeah, now that I've gotten that out, I'm ready to be hyped about tomorrow's shows, which, of course, we will also be live streaming live right here on Gamereactor. So let's shake that off. It was a false start. E3 proper starts tomorrow. And we will be live streaming, well, starting with Guerrilla Collective. We have Ubisoft. And then we have Gearbox as well. So we have a packed schedule tomorrow. And the gameplay trailers. The gameplay is coming. We're going to see more. So let's...
exciting announcements tomorrow, Dory.
Yes. Let's all look towards tomorrow. There. It's out of my system. This year's E3 is still going to be great no matter what. This just was not a great part of it. But it's all uphill from here. That's the good news. So, yeah. Let's say goodbye for now. And we will see you all here.
Type tomorrow, folks.
Tomorrow. Oh, yeah. If you want the schedule, go and check out your local Gamereactor domain of choice. Right up in the left corner, you can go to our E3 subpage where you can also see all of the previews and interviews that we are putting out, both in video form and in text form. All the news, everything E3, right there, all in one place. Even if you go there at the right time, you can watch our live stream right there. So, yeah, it's the only site you need. But... yeah, for those of you that stuck with us the entire time, I was seeing the viewer numbers pop down the entire time. Sorry, but see you again tomorrow, and it's gonna be fresh.
Must be much better.
Oh yeah. Later.
Bye.